Let's talk about the real lesson of David and Goliath. You know what no one really talks about? He wasn't thinking about being a hero on that day. He was just bringing lunch to his brothers. Like, really think about that for a second. The most famous underdog story in all of human history. It started with cheese and bread. David's father, Jesse, sent him to the battlefield with some provisions. Quote, "Take this ephah of roasted grain and these 10 loaves of bread for your brothers." End quote. That's from 1 Samuel 17, verse 17. Just a delivery run. Another day, nothing special. But here's where it gets interesting. David arrives at the camp and he hears Goliath's taunts. And unlike everyone else who'd been listening to those taunts for 40 days straight, David asks a very simple but very important question. Quote, "Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" End quote. That's from 1 Samuel 17, verse 26. You see, while everyone else saw an impossible situation, David saw something different. Not because he was particularly brave, not because he had some sort of secret training, but because his perspective was fundamentally different. The soldiers, they'd been staring at Goliath for over a month. They knew his height, over 9 feet tall. They knew his armor weight, 125 pounds of bronze. They had calculated the reach of his spear, the size of his sword. They became experts in exactly how impossible their situation was. But David had been in the field with the sheep when a lion came for his flock. He didn't measure the lion's teeth. When a bear attacked, he didn't calculate the bear's weight advantage. He simply remembered who he served and he acted accordingly. So this is the first real lesson. Sometimes knowing too much about your problem makes your problems seem bigger than they actually are. But now watch what happens next. Saul tries to dress David in his armor. Makes sense, right? You're going into battle, you're going to wear protection. But then David puts it on and he can barely move in it. Quote, "I cannot go in these," end quote, he says to Saul, "because I am not used to them." End quote. That's from 1 Samuel 17, verse 39. See, everyone wants David to fight Goliath on Goliath's terms, with conventional weapons, with traditional armor, with expected tactics. But David refuses. Instead, he picks up 5 smooth stones from a stream. Think about the absurdity of that moment. The entire army of Israel, with all of their military expertise, all of their weapons, all their strategies, they're all watching a shepherd boy collect rocks. Can you imagine what they must have been thinking? This kid's about to get murdered. But David understood something that they just didn't. You don't defeat giants by trying to become a giant yourself. You defeat them by being exactly who God made you to be. Quote, "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin." End quote. David said that to the Philistine. Then quote, "But I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty." End quote. That's 1 Samuel 17, verse 45. Notice David doesn't say, "I come against you with a superior rock-throwing skills." He knows the real power isn't in the stone or in the sling. It's in whose name he's fighting for. Here's what we often miss. Well before David ever faced Goliath, he had already won battles that nobody saw. The lion and the bear, they weren't public victories. No one was cheering when he rescued the lamb. No one gave him a medal for protecting the flock. But those private victories prepared him for this public moment. The giants that you're facing right now, they might not be 9 feet tall. They might just be debt that seems insurmountable, or addiction that feels unbreakable, or a bunch of broken relationships that appear beyond repair. Maybe it's just some health challenges that look completely impossible to overcome. And everyone around you might be telling you how to fight them. Wear this armor, use these weapons, follow this 10-step plan. But what if God's asking you to pick up 5 smooth stones instead? What if the very thing that makes you different is exactly what he wants to use? David ran toward Goliath. Let that sink in. While an army stood completely frozen in fear, a shepherd boy ran toward that giant. Not because he was fearless, but because he knew something about God that army had forgotten. Quote, "The battle is the Lord's." End quote. 1 Samuel 17:47. You see, the real lesson of David and Goliath isn't about being brave enough to face all of life's giants. It's about knowing who's really fighting the battle. It's about understanding that your 5 smooth stones, whatever unique gifts, experiences, or perspectives God's given you, those are enough when they're used in His name. So maybe we need to stop trying to put on Saul's armor. Maybe we got to stop comparing our weapons to everybody else's. Maybe the very thing that makes you feel unqualified is exactly what qualifies you for victory. Because at the end of the day, it wasn't David's aim that killed Goliath. It was God's power working through an available shepherd boy who simply refused to let God's name be mocked. Your giant is waiting, and God's asking you the same question that He asked David. Will you trust me enough to fight this battle my way? The stones are there, my friend. Pick them up. My name's Adam. I want to say thanks for making it to the end of the devotional. I do these every day, just trying to add a little bit of light to a dark world. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd be so kind to leave a comment, it really does mean a lot to me. But if not, no worries. I just hope to see you here on tomorrow's. Until then, my friend, onward, and God bless you.